So hey guys, what's up? Today we'll be talking about inheritance in Java. So Java had some more advanced concept than that in JavaScript. So we'll be talking about concepts such as inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, interface, and so on. So grab a coffee, get fresh, and let's jump into it. So guys, as you see, I have created a project called Hello World. Inside that project, I have a class called main, and the main class spits out Hello YouTube on the console. Now let's create a class called tags. The tags class will contain a method called calculate tags. So public double calculate tags, and it will take a argument called income and will return 30% of that argument. And now let's just create another class called business. The business class will contain one property called business name. Let's make it string. And now let's create another class called employee. The employee class will now contain one property called employee name. Now let's create a setter for this employee name. Same way, let's create a setter for business name as well. Now let's go to the main class and try to instantiate both the classes. So employee equal to new employee, and business equal to new business. And let's try to access the properties. So employee dot, we can see set employee name. So try to set a name to Spidey. And same way, let's access the same for business and set the business name to Google. So now if we want to reuse the calculate tax method for both employee as well as for the business class, both the class should inherit this tax class. So to do that, let's go to the business class and extend the tax class to the business class. Now let's do the same for the employee class. Let's extend the tax to the employee class. And now let's go to the main class and let's check it. Now we can see the calculate tax method appearing for the employee instance. Let's pass. The argument is 3000. And now check for the business class. Now we can see the calculate tax method appearing for the business class as well. Let's pass 30,000. Now let's do a sysout for calculate tax. Before that, let us assign the value to a variable called etax, and let's print that. And let's go to the business class and let us assign the value to btax. And now let's sysout. So now let's run it. Now you can see the calculate tax method get applied for both the business class as well as for the employee class, and this is called inheritance. Okay, then let's try inheritance with constructor. Create a constructor for tax class and sysout tax constructor. Let's do the same for the employee class. Create a constructor and then sysout employee constructor. Now let's run it. And you're gonna see the tax constructor is getting called first. It means the base constructor always gets called first. So now then, let's see what happens if we pass some argument to the base constructor. Go to tax class, then create a property called test, and then pass some argument to the tax constructor and then assign the same to the test property. Now let's go to employee class and let's see what happens. So there is an error. So because we are calling the base constructor without passing any argument. To solve it, let's use the keyword called super and pass an argument. Now the error has gone. It means the super keyword gives us access to the constructor of the base class. Now let's go to the main class and try to instantiate the tax class, and we are able to do it. So even though we are using the tax class only in inheritance, still it's a standalone class. So to prohibit a class to get instantiated like this, we're gonna use a keyword called abstract. And after declaring the class as an abstract class, this class cannot be instantiated anymore, but can be used in inheritance and can be extended to other classes. So let's check it and try to instantiate the same again. Tax equal to new tax, and now we're gonna get an error. So there is another keyword called final, and that keyword restrict a class to get extended. So let's check it. If you go to employee class, we extend the class and we're gonna get an error because we can't extend it anymore. Let's revert it back to abstract again. So now let me explain the process of abstraction in Java. So to do that, let's go to the employee class and let's create a method called add prefix. The add prefix method will return the employee name after adding a prefix to it. That's it. And let's create a custom name equals to employee name, and let's add a prefix called Mr. And then let's create the property called custom name, and then let's create a getter for custom name, and the getter will call add prefix internally. Now let's go to main class and then try to access the get custom name. Now we see our main class has access not only to get custom name method but also to add prefix method. So even though the add prefix method applied internally, it got exposed to the main method. So the abstraction process in Java states that we have to reduce the complexity of an application by hiding the unnecessary implementation information. So to achieve that, let's go to employee class and convert to the add prefix class to private. In that way, we are no more exposing it to the main class. So this is how abstraction in Java works. So now let's talk about polymorphism. So in this example, we have a tax class that has a fixed tax rate of 30%. Now what happens if the employee has a tax rate of 30%, whereas the business has a tax rate of 25%. Now to achieve that, let's go to the employee class and try to override the calculate tax method, and let's edit it to return a tax rate of 30%. Now let's go to business class and let's override the calculate tax method and edit it to return a tax rate of 25%. So now let's run it. Now we can see the applied tax rate for the employee is 30%, whereas the applied tax rate for the business is 25%. So what is happening here? So same calculate tax method behaving two different way for the two different classes, and this kind of behavior is known as polymorphism in Java. Now then, whenever we are extending one class to other classes, the classes are tightly coupled. Tightly coupled in the sense the base class has the implementation of the method, and now if anything changes, we may have to end up changing every other classes. To avoid that, we're gonna create interfaces. So let's go to main class and let's try to create a new Java class and type interface. Commit to iTax. Now let's create a declaration for a method called calculate tax. So point to notice here is the interface will contain the declaration of the methods, not the implementation. So now to implement the interface, let's go to the business class first and replace the extend tax with implements iTax. Same way, let's go to the employee class and replace the extends tax with implements iTax. The override methods will remain the same, and let's run it. As you see, the results remains the same, but the classes are no more tightly coupled. So this is how interface works in Java. So hope you guys learned something. In our next video, we'll be talking about some more advanced concept or some data structure or algorithm or something like that. So stay tuned. Until then, take care.